Have you ever felt different since childhood? As if there was something special about your life, but you couldn't quite explain it? There are signs from an early age that indicate you have been chosen for a divine purpose. Every person's life has a unique purpose, but often we are unaware of the path we are meant to follow. While some may go through life searching for meaning, others find themselves aware of a deeper calling, an inner pull that leads them to discover their purpose. It's not always clear at first, and sometimes the journey is filled with confusion and doubt. In this video, we will uncover clear signs that show you were chosen from birth to fulfill a special calling. These signs often start appearing early in life, and many people ignore them or feel confused by them. But once you recognize them, everything begins to make sense. Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. This verse tells us that even before we were born, God had a purpose for each of us. There is a divine plan set in motion long before we could even understand it. Let me know in the comments if any of these signs have been present in your life since childhood. Stay until the end to discover the most revealing sign of your divine purpose. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content that strengthens your faith. Children who are chosen for a divine purpose often exhibit a strong spiritual awareness from an early age. This is not something they consciously choose, it's simply part of who they are. Even as young children, they may feel drawn to prayer, feel a connection to something higher than themselves, and show a deep sense of compassion for others. One of the most obvious signs of early spiritual sensitivity is the tendency to gravitate towards faith. It might be the child's interest in spiritual teachings, the way they ask questions about life and God, or their natural desire to help others. Some children even display a unique ability to comfort others or sense when someone is in need, which is a sign that they are tuned into something beyond the physical world. Biblical example: Samuel is a powerful example of a young child with an early spiritual sensitivity. In 1 Samuel 3:1-10, Samuel hears God's voice calling to him in the night. At first he doesn't recognize it and goes to his mentor Eli, thinking it's him calling. But Eli understands that God is speaking to Samuel and tells him to respond, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." Samuel, even as a child, was able to hear God's voice, which is an indication of the divine purpose on his life. Reflecting on this, we can ask ourselves, did you feel a similar spiritual sensitivity in your early years? Perhaps you found yourself naturally drawn to spiritual activities, prayer, or had moments where you just knew something was true, even without understanding it fully. These experiences are often part of the foundation for a greater calling. As you continue to develop your spiritual journey, keep this early sensitivity in mind. It's a reminder that God's presence is with you, even when you're young, guiding and shaping you for what's ahead. One of the most striking signs that you may be chosen for a divine purpose is a deep and unwavering sense of justice, even from a young age. People who are called by God often exhibit a natural drive to stand up for what's right, particularly when they see others being wronged. As children, they may feel compelled to defend the underdog, speak out against bullying, or push for fairness in situations where others may turn a blind eye. This sense of justice can manifest in a variety of ways, but one consistent trait is the unwillingness to accept the status quo if it goes against what is morally right. Children who display this quality often challenge the norms or fight for what they believe is fair, even when it may not be popular or easy to do so. Biblical example: Moses is an exemplary figure who demonstrated this strong sense of justice. In Exodus 2:11-12, Moses, seeing an Egyptian taskmaster beating a Hebrew slave, intervenes and kills the Egyptian. At the time, Moses did not understand his divine purpose, but this act of standing up for the oppressed foreshadowed the great mission God had for him. Moses would later return to Egypt to free the Hebrews from slavery, fulfilling God's plan for justice on a larger scale. This desire for justice is not just an impulse, it is a sign of the divine purpose within. God often calls his chosen ones to be advocates for the oppressed and defenders of the weak. This trait, which begins to form in childhood, can manifest in adulthood as a passion for social justice, helping those in need, or fighting for causes that align with God's truth. If you've always felt that pull to right wrongs, to defend those who cannot defend themselves, it's likely a sign that God has equipped you with this deep sense of justice to fulfill a greater mission. As you grow older, nurture this trait. It is part of your divine calling to make a difference in the world. Many people who are called by God experience periods of isolation or feelings of being different from others, especially during their childhood years. This sense of not fitting in can be challenging, but it's often a sign that God is setting you apart for a specific purpose. People with divine callings often feel like outsiders in their communities or peer groups, as if they are meant for something greater. In these moments of isolation, it's easy to feel lonely or misunderstood, but these feelings can actually serve as moments of spiritual growth and preparation. God often uses periods of solitude to teach His chosen ones and mold them into the people they are meant to become. These times of feeling different are not a punishment, but rather a divine shaping process that equips you to fulfill your unique purpose. Biblical example: Joseph, the son of Jacob, experienced isolation and rejection from a very young age. In Genesis 37:5-11, Joseph's brothers became jealous of him because of the special favor his father showed him. This led to them selling him into slavery, causing Joseph to be separated from his family and thrown into a series of trials. However, Joseph's period of isolation ultimately prepared him for his divine purpose, to become a leader in Egypt and save his family and others from famine. Much like Joseph, you may have found yourself rejected or misunderstood by others. Perhaps you felt out of place in your school, your family, or your social circles. These feelings of alienation are often a sign that God is preparing you for something bigger. The isolation you experienced as a child could be laying the groundwork for your future mission. As you look back, consider how these periods of isolation might have shaped your faith and character. They were not wasted years. They were times when God was working in the background, preparing you for the divine purpose ahead. Embrace these experiences, as they are an essential part of your journey. Another clear sign that you may have been chosen for a divine purpose is the presence of unique gifts and talents that set you apart. People who are called by God often possess extraordinary abilities that are not merely for personal gain, but to serve others and fulfill a higher calling. These talents may manifest in many forms: creativity, leadership, teaching, deep insight, or the ability to inspire others. They are often skills that seem natural or come easily to you, but when viewed from a spiritual perspective, they are tools meant to advance God's purpose. From an early age, those with a divine calling often find themselves excelling in certain areas. Whether it's an artistic gift, a deep understanding of people, or a talent for organizing and leading others, these abilities are not coincidental. They are a part of God's plan to use you for something greater than yourself. The key is recognizing these gifts, nurturing them, and aligning them with your purpose. Biblical example: King Solomon's extraordinary wisdom is a prime example of divine gifting. In 1 Kings 3:5-14, Solomon famously asked God for wisdom to lead his people rather than wealth or power. God granted him not only wisdom, but also wealth and honor, setting Solomon apart as one of the greatest kings in history. His wisdom allowed him to rule with discernment and integrity, guiding his people in the ways of righteousness. Just as Solomon's wisdom was a gift from God to fulfill a divine purpose, your unique talents are also meant to be used in alignment with God's will. Whether you possess gifts in arts, communication, leadership, or any other area, they are not just for your personal success. They are to be used to serve others and bring glory to God. Reflecting on your own talents, ask yourself, how can I use these gifts to fulfill God's purpose in my life? The more you develop and use these abilities for the greater good, the more you will find yourself walking in alignment with the divine calling on your life. Many children who are chosen by God experience extraordinary spiritual encounters, such as vivid dreams, visions, or a strong awareness of God's presence. These early experiences can be difficult to explain, but they are often divine signs that mark the beginning of a special journey. Such encounters serve to confirm God's calling and provide guidance for the path ahead. These experiences may vary from person to person. Some may have dreams that feel more real than anything in the physical world. Others may experience a deep sense of peace or clarity during moments of prayer. Still, others may have visions or downloads of information that lead them to take certain actions. These divine encounters serve as a reminder that God is active in their lives, preparing them for the mission they are destined to fulfill. Biblical example: one of the most well-known spiritual encounters in the Bible is Jacob's vision of a ladder reaching from earth to heaven in Genesis 28:10-17. Jacob, on his way to Haran, laid down to sleep and dreamt of a ladder with angels ascending and descending on it. God spoke to Jacob, reaffirming the promises he made to his forefathers and assuring him that he would be with him throughout his journey. This vision was a clear sign of God's presence and plan for Jacob's life. Similarly, many people experience a sense of divine presence or receive spiritual guidance that shapes their path. These encounters may not always be as dramatic as Jacob's vision, but they serve as confirmation that you are not alone and that God is watching over you. If you've had moments in your life when you felt a deep sense of divine presence, or if you've had dreams or visions that felt significant, these may be signs that God is speaking directly to you. Recognizing and responding to these experiences can deepen your spiritual walk and draw you closer to fulfilling your divine purpose. For those chosen by God, the journey is rarely easy. In fact, many experience significant trials and challenges early in life. These difficulties are not just random obstacles, but often part of a divine preparation process. The hardships faced by individuals with a special calling help shape their character, build resilience, and teach them essential lessons that will be needed in fulfilling their divine purpose. It's common for those with a divine calling to face difficulties like illness, loss, or emotional struggles at a young age. These challenges may seem overwhelming at the time, but they often serve as crucial stepping stones, preparing the individual for the weight of their calling. God uses these trials to refine them, drawing them closer to Him and equipping them with the strength and wisdom they will need later in life. Biblical example. The story of Job is a powerful example of how God allows challenges to refine His chosen ones. In Job 1:20-22, we read that Job loses his wealth, his health, and his children in a series of devastating events. Despite these overwhelming trials, Job refuses to curse God. Instead, he remains faithful, declaring, "The Lord gave and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Job's unwavering faith in the midst of hardship is a testament to how God uses trials to shape and prepare His chosen ones for the future. If you have faced significant challenges in your life, it's important to view these experiences through a spiritual lens. These trials are not meant to break you, but to build you. They teach perseverance, deepen your faith, and prepare you for the calling that God has placed on your life. Every challenge you face is part of the divine preparation that shapes you into the person you were meant to become. Embrace these struggles, knowing that God is using them to refine you for your ultimate purpose. Even in the darkest moments, remember that God's hand is guiding you, and that your trials are preparing you for a greater mission. A profound sign that you may be chosen for a divine purpose is a deep, almost insatiable desire to help others. From a young age, individuals with a divine calling often feel compelled to serve those in need. This desire is not merely an act of kindness, it is a reflection of God's love flowing through them. It is a sign that their mission in life is connected to others' well-being, and they are meant to play a key role in improving the lives of those around them. This desire to help others can take many forms: volunteering, offering emotional support to those in distress, or simply providing a listening ear. It may even extend to a lifelong commitment to certain causes or groups of people. The key characteristic here is that it often goes beyond a personal desire for recognition or reward. Instead, it is a selfless drive to make a positive difference in the lives of others. Biblical example: Jesus is the ultimate example of service, as He demonstrated throughout His life a deep desire to help others, even in the most humble ways. In John 13:12-17, Jesus washes His disciples' feet, an act of service that was traditionally reserved for the lowest servant in the household. He then tells His disciples, "I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you." This act of humility and service illustrates that a divine calling is deeply connected to helping others, often through self-sacrifice and love. If you find that you are always drawn to help, to lift up those who are struggling, or to offer acts of kindness without expecting anything in return, this is a powerful sign that you are living out your divine calling. Your desire to help is part of God's plan for you. He has equipped you with a heart that mirrors His own love for His people. Reflect on how you can continue to serve others in alignment with God's purpose for your life. It could be as simple as a kind word, or it could evolve into a lifelong mission to serve a specific group of people. Either way, your heart for service is a reflection of your divine purpose. For those chosen by God, Rejection and opposition are common experiences, especially in childhood and adolescence. Often, people who are called for a special purpose find themselves misunderstood, rejected, or even opposed by family, friends, or society. These feelings of being an outsider can be painful, but they also serve as a sign that God has set them apart for something greater. The opposition they face is not random. It is part of the refining process that helps to prepare them for their divine calling. Being misunderstood or rejected can feel isolating, and it is natural to question why this happens. However, those who are chosen by God often face these challenges because they are meant to stand out, not conform to the world's standards, and be a light in the darkness. This rejection can be a result of their unique calling, which may not always be easily understood or accepted by others. Yet, in the midst of this opposition, God is using these experiences to strengthen their faith and resolve. Biblical example: David's story offers a powerful example of rejection and opposition. In 1 Samuel 16:60-13, when Samuel went to anoint the next king of Israel, David's own family overlooked him. His father Jesse did not even consider him among the potential candidates, instead presenting his older sons. However, God chose David, the youngest and most unlikely of his siblings, to be the king. Despite being rejected by his own family, David's divine purpose was clear, and he would later become one of Israel's greatest kings. Similarly, many individuals with a divine calling find themselves overlooked, rejected, or even scorned by those closest to them. Whether it's family, friends, or society at large, this rejection often becomes a tool that God uses to refine their character and draw them closer to their purpose. If you have faced rejection or opposition, take heart. These experiences are part of God's plan to separate you from the world's expectations and prepare you for a higher calling. Embrace these challenges and let them strengthen your resolve. Know that, like David, you have been chosen for something significant, and the opposition you face today is only a temporary obstacle in the greater plan God has for your life. One of the most distinguishing signs that you may be chosen for a divine purpose is a heightened sensitivity to God's voice. Individuals with a special calling often develop a spiritual intuition that allows them to hear God's guidance more clearly than others. This sensitivity enables them to discern God's will in everyday decisions, feel His presence in moments of prayer, and receive divine direction when they are faced with significant choices. This ability to hear God's voice may not always come in the form of audible words, but rather as an inner knowing, a peace that passes understanding, or a sense of urgency that leads them to take action. It might also manifest as a deep conviction in their hearts, or a gentle prompting during moments of reflection and prayer. God's voice often guides those chosen for special purposes, helping them navigate their journey and align their actions with His will. Biblical example: the Apostle Paul's dramatic conversion on the road to Damascus is a powerful example of sensitivity to God's voice. In Acts 9:1-19, Paul, then Saul, is struck by a blinding light and hears a voice asking, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" This encounter radically changes his life. Paul's sensitivity to God's voice became the driving force behind his ministry, leading him to spread the gospel and endure significant hardships for the sake of Christ. Like Paul, individuals who are chosen for a divine purpose often experience moments when God's voice calls them to step into a new role or phase of their journey. This voice may guide them through significant transitions, offer comfort during difficult times, or provide clarity in moments of uncertainty. The more in tune you are with God's voice, the more easily you will be able to follow His lead. If you've had experiences where you felt a deep sense of God's direction in your life, or moments when you simply knew what you needed to do, this is a strong indicator that you are walking in alignment with your divine calling. Cultivate this sensitivity through prayer, reflection, and listening to God's still small voice. As you do, your ability to hear and follow Him will only grow stronger. As you walk through life, God continually reaffirms His purpose for you through small signs, people, and situations. These confirmations are not coincidences. They are deliberate divine messages that assure you are on the right path. People with a divine calling often receive subtle yet powerful reminders from God that their life is unfolding according to His plan. These confirmations might come in the form of a word of encouragement from a stranger, an unexpected opportunity that aligns with your purpose, or a seemingly small event that reminds you that God is at work in your life. These confirmations can serve as markers along the way, guiding you when you feel uncertain or lost. They offer reassurance that you are not walking alone and that God is actively involved in your journey. The more you pay attention to these signs, the more you will begin to recognize the ways in which God is leading you. Biblical example. The story of Gideon in Judges 6:36-40 provides a powerful example of seeking and receiving divine confirmation. Gideon was called by God to lead Israel against the Midianites, but he sought assurance from God before stepping into his mission. He placed a fleece of wool on the ground and asked God to confirm his will by making the fleece wet with dew while the ground around it remained dry. God granted his request, and Gideon asked for a second confirmation, this time making the fleece dry while the ground around it became wet. These signs were God's way of reassuring Gideon that his calling was legitimate and that God would empower him for the task ahead. Similarly, you may find that God confirms his purpose for you through various means, whether it's through the encouragement of others, open doors, or moments of divine synchronicity that feel too perfectly timed to be a coincidence. These confirmations reinforce the idea that you are not just following your own path, but God's divine plan for your life. If you've experienced moments where things just seem to align perfectly, or if you've received unexpected signs that encouraged you to stay the course, know that these are confirmations from God. He is guiding you, and He will continue to affirm your purpose as you step forward in faith. Embracing the divine calling on your life is not always easy. It requires courage, faith, and trust in God's plan, even when the path ahead seems unclear. The signs we've discussed so far, from early spiritual sensitivity to facing rejection and opposition, are just the beginning of a journey that will require you to make intentional choices. Now, it's time to address what it truly means to embrace your calling and step into the purpose that God has designed for you. When you start to recognize these divine signs, you may feel a sense of excitement and hope, yet there may also be moments of fear and uncertainty. The fear of stepping out into the unknown is something that many people face when they feel called by God. It's normal to have doubts about whether you are truly capable of fulfilling such a great purpose. However, the truth is that God has already equipped you with everything you need to step into your calling. It's not about being perfect or ready, it's about being willing. Understanding the process of embracing your calling. The first step in embracing your divine calling is understanding that the process will take time. God's timing is perfect, but it rarely aligns with our own expectations. Often He allows us to go through seasons of preparation, growth, and even trial to get us ready for what is ahead. This process of becoming is essential. It's in these moments of waiting that God is refining us, teaching us, and aligning our hearts with His will. Embracing your divine purpose means fully accepting the fact that you were chosen, even when you may feel unworthy or ill-prepared. God doesn't call the equipped, He equips the called. This is a powerful truth to remember. Every gift, every talent, and every experience in your life has been part of the preparation process for the divine purpose He has set before you. The role of faith in stepping into purpose. Faith plays a central role in stepping into your purpose. As you face challenges, you will be asked to trust in God's ability to guide you, even when the path is not clear. It requires believing that He will make a way, even when you can't see it, and trusting that He has already provided everything you need to succeed. Hebrews 11:1 defines faith as the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This means that faith is not based on what we can see or understand with our earthly minds. Instead, it is based on a deep confidence in God's promises and His faithfulness. When you embrace your calling, you must step forward in faith, trusting that God will reveal each next step along the way. Overcoming fear and doubt. Fear and doubt are natural responses when we are faced with the prospect of stepping into something unknown. These emotions are part of the human experience, but they should not dictate the direction of your life. The enemy loves to use fear to keep us from stepping into our divine purpose. He wants us to believe that we are not enough, that we are too flawed, or that we are unworthy of God's calling. But the truth is that God equips us with everything we need to fulfill His purpose, regardless of our imperfections. Throughout the Bible, we see God repeatedly telling His chosen people to fear not. He tells us not to be afraid because He is with us. In Isaiah 41:10, God promises, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." If God is with you, there is nothing to fear. When fear rises up, remind yourself of this promise and step forward in faith, knowing that God will strengthen you every step of the way. The importance of perseverance in the process. The road to fulfilling your divine purpose will not always be easy. You will face obstacles, moments of discouragement, and setbacks. But it is in these times of trial that you learn the most about yourself and about God. Perseverance is key in embracing and stepping into your purpose. James 1:2-4 tells us, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." The trials you face on your journey will help you grow in faith and maturity. They will teach you to rely on God and to trust in His provision. Perseverance is not about never falling, but about getting back up every time you do. Each challenge you face is an opportunity for growth and an invitation to deepen your trust in God. Trusting in God's provision. One of the greatest aspects of embracing your divine purpose is recognizing that God will provide everything you need to fulfill your calling. When He calls you, He equips you, not only with gifts and talents, but with the resources, people, and opportunities you need to walk in His plan. Matthew 6:33 reminds us to seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. When you focus on fulfilling God's calling, He will provide for your every need. This does not mean that there will be no challenges, but it does mean that God will supply what you need to continue moving forward. Sometimes it's easy to become consumed with the how and when of our calling. We want to know all the details, and we want to control the timing. However, God's provision often comes in unexpected ways. Trusting in His ability to provide and not in our own understanding is a key element of embracing our divine purpose. Walking in boldness. When you embrace your calling, you are not walking alone. God is with you, and His Spirit empowers you to be bold and courageous in pursuing your purpose. It's easy to feel timid or unsure, but the truth is that you have the same power that raised Jesus from the dead living inside you. The Holy Spirit empowers you to step forward in boldness and confidence, knowing that God is behind you every step of the way. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline." The boldness you need to embrace your purpose is not your own. It is a gift from God. When you rely on His power, you can face challenges and opposition with confidence, knowing that you are equipped to overcome them. Surrounding yourself with support. As you step into your divine purpose, it is important to surround yourself with people who will encourage, support, and hold you accountable. God never intended for us to walk alone. Even Jesus, who was the Son of God, surrounded Himself with disciples. Similarly, we need a community of believers to walk with us and help us stay focused on our purpose. Hebrews 10:24-25 encourages us to spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Building a strong support system of fellow believers will help you stay encouraged and rooted in your calling. They will pray for you, challenge you, and walk with you through the highs and lows of your journey, responding to God's call with obedience. Finally, embracing your divine purpose requires obedience. God calls us to be faithful stewards of the gifts He has given us and to step into the calling He has placed on our lives. Obedience means taking action, even when you don't have all the answers. It means trusting that God's plan is better than your own, and stepping forward in faith, even when you can't see the entire picture. In Isaiah 6:8, the prophet Isaiah responds to God's call by saying, "Here am I, send me." This simple yet profound response to God's call shows us the importance of obedience. When you hear God calling, don't hesitate. Respond with a willing heart, knowing that He will lead you every step of the way. The rewards of fulfilling your divine purpose. When you fully embrace your divine calling and step into the purpose God has prepared for you, there are incredible rewards, both in this life and in eternity. Living in alignment with God's will brings peace, fulfillment, and a deep sense of purpose. Galatians 6:9 encourages us to not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. The rewards of living out your divine purpose may not always be immediately visible, but they are certain. In the end, the greatest reward is hearing God say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Matthew 25:23. As you continue to walk in obedience and step into your divine purpose, it's important to remember that the journey is not always linear. There will be times when you may feel discouraged, tired, or unsure of the next step. But even in these moments, remember that God's plan for you is steadfast and unwavering. The trials, the waiting, and the challenges are all part of a bigger picture that God is weaving for your life. The power of prayer and reflection. One of the most essential tools in embracing your calling is prayer. Prayer is not only a way to communicate with God, but it is also a means of grounding yourself in His will and purpose. Through prayer, you can find the strength to continue when the road gets tough. You can also receive clarity and guidance, allowing you to discern the next steps and to be open to the prompting of the Holy Spirit. In Philippians 4:6-7, the Apostle Paul encourages us to be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. When you pray, you invite God to not only guide you, but to bring peace to your heart and mind. This peace will guard you against the doubts and anxieties that may arise along the way. Prayer keeps you focused on God's promises and provides the strength you need to keep moving forward, even when it feels difficult. Trusting God's timing. Another key element of embracing your divine purpose is learning to trust in God's timing. It's easy to grow impatient when things don't happen according to our plans. We may feel like we're ready to step into our calling, but doors remain closed or opportunities seem delayed. During these times, it's crucial to remember that God's timing is always perfect. He knows the exact right moment for everything, and His delays are not denials. Psalm 27:14 encourages us to wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. Waiting is not passive. It is an active trust in God's sovereignty. While waiting, God is still at work, shaping you, preparing you, and orchestrating circumstances in ways you cannot yet understand. Even if the path seems unclear, take comfort in knowing that God's plan is unfolding in His perfect timing. Trust that He has not forgotten you or your purpose, and that He is preparing you for what is ahead. The waiting seasons are often where our character is refined and our faith deepened, preparing us to fully embrace the calling He has placed on our lives, stepping into purpose with confidence. As you begin to see God's hand in your life, and as you experience the confirmation of your divine calling, you will naturally begin to step into your purpose with greater confidence. This confidence is not based on your own abilities or accomplishments, but on the understanding that God is with you every step of the way. When you trust in God's equipping and in His provision, you will be empowered to move forward with boldness. The Apostle Paul wrote in Philippians 4:13, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." This verse is a powerful reminder that no matter the challenges or obstacles ahead, you are never alone. With God's strength, you can accomplish all that He has called you to do. You are equipped for the task ahead, not because of your own strength, but because of God's power working within you. With each step, you will find yourself more confident in His calling, knowing that He is the one who will provide all the strength, wisdom, and resources you need. Leaving a legacy of faith. As you walk in your divine purpose, consider the legacy you are leaving behind. The choices you make today will shape not only your life but the lives of those around you. By embracing your calling, you are setting an example for others to follow. You are showing them what it looks like to live a life of purpose, to trust in God's plan, and to serve others with love and humility. Proverbs 4:25-27 encourages us to let your eyes look straight ahead, fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the paths for your feet, and be steadfast in all your ways. As you live out your calling, keep your eyes fixed on God's plan. Stay steadfast in your purpose, knowing that your faithfulness will leave a lasting impact on future generations. The legacy you leave is not just in the things you accomplish, but in the example you set through your faith and obedience to God's calling. Let your life be a testimony of His goodness, faithfulness, and the power of walking in alignment with His divine purpose. If you have experienced any of the signs discussed throughout this video, early spiritual sensitivity, a strong sense of justice, feelings of isolation, unique gifts, spiritual encounters, trials, a deep desire to help others, rejection, sensitivity to God's voice, or ongoing confirmations, it's possible that God has chosen you for a special purpose. These signs are not coincidences. They are divinely orchestrated moments designed to guide you toward the calling you were born to fulfill. The journey to discovering and living out your divine purpose may not always be easy. There may be times of doubt, difficulty, or confusion. However, remember that God does not call those who are equipped. He equips those He calls. Each trial, each challenge, and each moment of solitude is part of His perfect plan to prepare you for the destiny He has in store. Do not ignore God's calling. Every experience in your life has been preparing you for your divine purpose. God makes no mistakes. If He has called you, He will equip you. Let me know in the comments which of these signs you have experienced in your life. If this video has inspired you, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content about faith and divine purpose. Remember, your life is part of a greater story, a story where you are the protagonist of a divine plan. Trust in the journey and know that you were chosen for something extraordinary.